Hi friends, my name is Akhil Ahmed. I am a senior software engineer. In this particular video tutorial, I will be talking about slowly changing dimension in SSIS. So the agenda of today's video tutorial is how to use slowly changing dimension for incremental data load in SSIS. There are actually three types of slowly changing dimensions. Those can be used for incremental data load. The first one is SCD type 1, which is also called as the changing attribute. So the SCD type 1 is used to override the existing data in the destination table with the data from the source table. So in this particular case, we don't keep any history for the existing data. We actually override the existing data. The second one is the SCD type 2, which is also called as the historical attribute. So the SCD type 2 is used to maintain the history of the existing data along with the new data in the dimension table, or we can say as the destination table. So in this particular case, we can insert a new record for SCD type 2, and we can use the start date and end date in dimension table to identify the active record. So a null value in the end date column actually denotes the active records. So we will see this in the demo. And then the third one is the SCD fixed attribute. So the SCD fixed attribute is used if you want not to change the data for a column over a period of time. So then we can use the SCD fixed attribute. So for example, if you want a column to remain static over a period of time, then we can use the SCD fixed attribute for such cases. So we will see all these three types in the upcoming demo. In this video tutorial, we will be using EMP underscore source table as the transactional or source table that contains data that we will be using to update or insert to the dim employee or the destination table. So EMP source is the source table that contains EMP ID, which is business key, and which can be linked to the EMP ID in the destination table. And there are columns like first name, last name, designation. So we will be inserting around 5 records in the source table, and then we will be modifying these records to see like how the SCD type 1, 2 and historical attribute will work. Okay, so EMP ID in both tables is the business key, or you can say surrogate key. Last name will be actually changing type attribute, so we will be modifying the last name data, so it should be updated in the destination column. And the designation will be the SCD type 2, which means the historical attribute. So whenever we will update the designation for a particular employee in the source table, a new record should be inserted to the dim employee table, and then we will be using the start date and end date to identify the most recent or the active record. So let's jump to the demo. So this is my SQL Server Management Studio, and we will be dropping and recreating the EMP source table, which contains around 4 records: employee ID, first name, last name and designation. And then we are inserting 5 records to the EMP source table, which is a transactional table. And then we will be inserting data to the dim employee table, which contains the same columns, 4 columns from source, along with ID as an identity column, and then start date and end date column. Those will be used to identify the historical records for SCD type 2. So in the SCD type 1, we will update the person's last name in the source table, so it should be overwritten in the destination table as it is, and there should not be any historical record kept in this particular case. And then in SCD type 2, if you will update the designation of a column, then a new record should be inserted to this particular table, and then we will be using the start date and end date to maintain the historical record. So we will see how we will be doing that in SSIS. So let's jump to the SQL Server Data Tools to create the SSIS package. So this is my SQL Server Data Tools 2013 that I will be using to create the SSIS package. And now let's drag and drop the data flow task into the control flow window and double click data flow task to configure it. As we are going to read data from this EMP source from the transactional table, so let's drag and drop the OLEDB source into the data flow task, and then double click OLEDB source to configure it. From the table or view, select the EMP source table which contains these data, 5 records, click close. Okay, and now let's drag and drop the slowly changing dimension into the data flow task. And now connect the OLEDB source with the slowly changing dimension. Double click slowly changing dimension to configure it. Click next to start configuring the slowly changing dimension. So under the table or view, we actually need to select the dim employee table, which is the dimension table or the destination table. So from under table or view, select the dim employee table. So in this particular window, we just need to select the business or surrogate key. So employee ID is the business key in this particular case, so we will mark it as business key, and then we can leave the rest of the columns as it is. And now click next. And now under this particular window, actually we need to select what are the SCD type 1 columns and what are the SCD type 2 or historical columns. Okay, so the first column, the last name column, will be a changing attribute, the SCD type 1 column, which can be used to update the existing data in the destination or dimension column. So let's select the last name as the changing attribute, which is the SCD type 1. So whenever we will update the value of last name in the source table, it will actually overwrite in the destination table or the dimension table. The second one, SCD type 2, which is a historical attribute. The designation is the historical attribute, so let's select the historical attribute for designation. So whenever the value of designation will be changed in the source table, it will insert a new record in the dimension table, and then it will update the end date with the current date and will insert a new record with the null value as the end date. So a null value in the end date column, it actually represents the active records. And then we can mark the first name as the fixed attributes. So the fixed attribute record should not change over a period of time. So for example, a person's first name should not be changed. However, the last name can change if a person, for example, if a girl got married, so she can change her last name, and a designation of an employee can be changed if he got promoted to the new designation. However, the first name should be static and it should not change over a period of time, so we can mark first name as the fixed attribute. So now click next. Under the fixed attribute, fail the transformation if changes are detected in a fixed attribute. So for example, if you want that if someone change the value in the first name, then the transformation should fail, because we don't want the first name to be changed over a period of time. So we can leave the tick as it is. Then now click next. And then to maintain the historical attribute, we can use the start date column that we created in the destination column. This one is start date and end date. So we can use these columns here, start date column and then end date, and then variable to set the date values. So we can select system start date time SSIS variable to insert the current date whenever a new record will be inserted in the case of historical attribute. And now click next. And we can disable this particular case in this particular example. Now click next. Now click finish. So we are done with configuring the slowly changing dimension, type 1, type 2 and the fixed attribute as well. So now if you rerun this particular query, select list from employee source and dimension table. So right now the div employee, the destination table is empty, as we have not inserted any record to this particular table yet. So if we will execute the SSIS package, so it will actually insert all records from the source table into the destination table, because right now the destination table was empty, so it has copied actually all records from source table to the destination table. So if you will execute this particular query, so you can see that the records from source table have been copied to the destination table, along with the start date values, the current date values inside the start date, and the end date values null as of now, which means all records are the active records. So now let's test the SCD type 1. So the SCD type 1 is the changing attribute. So for example, in this particular source table, there is a record Jyoti Singh. So suppose Jyoti Singh got married to this Rajdev Bhandari. So the last name can be updated from Singh to Bhandari because she changed her last name. So let's update this particular record, employee ID 104. So now if you rerun the query, so now you can see that in the source table, the last name of employee ID 104 has been changed from Singh to Bhandari, but in the destination table it is still Singh. So if you will rerun the SSIS package, so it should update the record in the destination table as well. So now if you will rerun this particular query, so you will notice that the value of the Bhandari has been updated for this record employee ID 104. So this is SCD type 1 changing attribute. if a record got changed from the source table, then it will be updated to the destination table as well. And then the SCD type 2 is the historical attribute. So for example, if a record in the source table 101 Ashish Raghav, for example, if this person got promoted from DBA to senior DBA, so we should insert a new record in the destination table, and then expire this record here, and that we should mark a end date here, and then insert a new record with all the values from here, and the designation should be changed to senior DBA. So let's update the record in the source table. And now if you will rerun the select query here, so you can see that this person's designation got changed from DBA to senior DBA. So if you will re-execute the SSIS package, so a new record should be inserted to the destination table. So let's rerun the SSIS package. Okay, and now if you will re-execute the select query here, so if you will see that the Ashish Raghav's record got expired here, the earlier record, because we updated the end date value here, but we also inserted a new record for him 101, and the new record's designation is senior DBA, and it has the end date as null value. So it means that this is the most recent and the active records for Ashish Raghav. So this is the SCD type 2 historical attribute. So we are keeping a history of this particular person in SCD type 2. The third one is the SCD fixed attribute. So it means that we cannot modify the value of the first name for a particular record. So for example, for 102 value for Cody Barbacos, if you are going to modify the value of first name, so it should not be changed in the destination column, and according to the current configuration, the SSIS package should fail because we cannot modify the value of first name. So let's see if a change happened in the first name column for employee ID 102. So then SSIS package should actually fail. So we have updated the value of 102 from Cody to Abhishek, and now let's try to execute the SSIS package again. So if you will click on the start button, so you can see that the slowly changing dimension transformation got failed, and if you try to rerun the query, so you will see that no change should be happened in the destination table. So for 102, the employee first name is not changed because it's a fixed attribute, so it cannot be changed. So what we can do is, if such kind of scenario happens in future, so if you want that our SSIS package should run successfully, it should not get failed, but it should not update the value of the first name. So what we can do is just modify the slowly changing dimension, and then we can simply remove this tick, fail the transformation if changes are detected. So we can just uncheck this and then click, then save the SSIS package. Then we have saved the slowly changing dimension transformation. So now what will happen is, if you will re-execute the SSIS package, so the SSIS package will run successfully, however it won't do anything. So now you can see that even the value in the first name column in the source table has been changed to Abhishek, but the value in the destination table inside the first name is still the old one, because the first name is the fixed attribute, and the rule says that the fixed attribute should not change over a period of time. So guys, this is how we can use the slowly changing dimension type 1 for changing attribute, slowly changing dimension type 2 for historical attribute, and then slowly changing dimension fixed attribute in the SSIS packages. Thanks guys for watching the video, and if you like the video, then please click the like button and do subscribe to our channel to see more videos on SSIS and other related technologies. Thank you so much.